District Governor and my very dear friend, Dr. Deepak Shikarpur, my most revered guru, guide, friend, philosopher, Rahul Bhai Bajaj, distinguished Rotarian, Mukesh Arneja, Jitendra Joshi, the distinguished Rotarians I see in front of me, ladies and gentlemen, I must say it's a very special privilege. It's a special honor to be here, and I want to thank Deepak for making it possible. Yes, he's right. There were a number of other engagements that I was supposed to be doing today, but as he said, he had booked me 2 years, 2 months in advance. In fact, I remember today, as we speak, there is a meeting on selection of Prime Minister's Excellence Awards in Delhi, of which I am a member of the committee. I'm not attending that. I'm supposed to be attending another board meeting. I'm not attending that. I just stuck to my promise. I'm here with you because this is one of the greatest moments of my life. It's a very special privilege. Deepak, first I want to pay compliments to you. A person with absolutely infinite energy, a grand vision. The word impossible doesn't exist in his diary. And by the way, you may not be aware, but I have read all your 21 books. For a selfish interest, because many times, Deepak writes in such a way that even dumb people like me can get, understand the most complex things. And I intend reading the 22nd that we have released today. I also want to pay my respects to Rahul Bhai. To me, he is a timeless inspirator. Pune, India is very lucky to have had an icon like him. He is absolutely unique. I've been his greatest follower, greatest admirer. A very, very rare leader in India who says what he means and means what he says. I think it is incredible. And Rahul Bhai, it's a special, one of the greatest days of my life. I was telling Rahul Bhai that later on we'll be felicitating him, admiring his life and work by saying thank you. Thank you, Rahul Bhai, for being what you are and what you have done for the country and for the world, for that matter. I also feel privileged that I've had this opportunity to speak to you, Rotarians. I'm a great admirer again of all of you, because as we were hearing Manoj Bhai a little earlier, I think if I were to sum up all that you said in your talk, I would simply say that Rotarians believe in not only having more, but being more. I think that is the sum and substance of what you said, isn't it? And I think that is very, very important for the country. I have chosen a topic today which is very close to what I just now said. That is not only having more, but being more. How can we achieve that? The challenge today is that we live in what is called as a VUCA world. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And it's very difficult to find good news. You open up a newspaper and you feel distressed. In fact, for a long time, I've been talking about a good news newspaper. That is, on the front page, you have all the good news, and in some last page, in some corner, you give all the bad news. But in India, you will always have a mix of some good news and bad news. Recently, the news that has been making rounds is, for example, something that India is very proud of. That is, Satya Nadella is taking over as CEO of Microsoft. And that's a fantastic news because it proves something that one has always said. Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, our former Prime Minister, used to say, India's future is in IT, IT as in information technology. I also used to say India's future is in IT, but not in IT as information technology, but as IT in Indian talent. And this talent conquers the world. I mean, we can see that. I mean, we heard about Satya Nadella, but then there is Indra Nui of PepsiCo. When we hear the news, we celebrate. We hear about Nitin Noria, what he's doing at Harvard Business School, and we celebrate, and so on. My challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is the following. I would say some Indians are doing well. The question we need to ask is India doing well? Or when will India do well? And I think there are two things that immediately crop up. Why is that so? The first, I would like to have a little bit of an anecdote in order to explain to you where the challenge is. I'm chairman of National Innovation Foundation, and I was conducting an interview for the Chief Innovation Officer of NIF. And I remember somebody presented his credentials to me, a candidate, and he said, I'm an expert in branding. I said, great. He had branded a refrigerator, he had branded a car, and so on. I said, how will you brand my India? So he was puzzled, because that was not something that he had ever done. So I said, I'll help you. US brands itself, America brands itself as a land of opportunity. How do you brand India? And he said, immediately, India is a land of ideas. Now, as I said, for India, there is always a good news and the bad news. The good news is India is a land of ideas. The bad news is it is only US that's a land of opportunity. And that is why you find the Indra Nuis of this world, the Satya Nadellas of this world, Nitin Noris of this world, we celebrate them because they have that opportunity to shine there. The first question is, when will we become a land of opportunity? I think that time came when we got the second freedom. 1947 was our first freedom, the political freedom. 1991, 24 July to be precise, was our second freedom, when India was liberalized, opened up by our current Prime Minister and the then Finance Minister. It was freedom to compete, so as to say. So we moved from a closed economy to an open economy. And we became a land of opportunity in many, many different ways. I still remember, I was just reading on the other day, the speeches that were made after Dr. Manmohan Singh actually gave his new industrial policy. And I will not name a very, very respected leader from the opposition who got up and said, a very nice scholar, but now an arrogant politician, Dr. Manmohan Singh, is going to sell India to the East India Company again. Exactly the reverse has happened. We are buying East India companies. Very interesting, I was in Cambridge giving a Judge Business School lecture, and in the evening, there was a felicitation of Ratan Tata, because that day morning he had given he was given the honorary doctorate. And somebody sitting next to me pointed towards Ratan and he said, you're looking at a person who is the largest provider of jobs, #1 provider of jobs in manufacturing in UK. Who would have imagined that that was ever possible? So that is the turnaround, ladies and gentlemen, that has actually taken place. And he's not the only one. There are several others who are actually doing that. The challenge again with India is that there is a good news and the bad news. And how do we convert everything into a good news is a challenge. You look at our technological achievements. Chandrayaan, for example, mission to the moon. We became the first country in the world to detect water on the surface of the moon. That was a tremendous accomplishment. But what is the ground reality? How many thousands of villages do not have drinking water or access to drinking water in India? See the contrast? Look at healthcare, for example. The medical tourism is booming. I mean, people are coming from all over the world, whether it is for hip replacement, whether it is cardiac bypasses, even bone marrow transplants, But on the other hand, the ground realities are that when it comes to infant mortality, it is 3 times higher than China, 4 times higher than Sri Lanka, and even higher than Nepal and Bangladesh. And within India, there are inequities, huge inequities. An infant born in Madhya Pradesh, 6 times more chances that it will die before 1 year in comparison to the one born in Kerala. Huge inequities within India. And therefore, we have to overcome all these and fulfill our dreams of a new India. You know, people call me a dangerous optimist. I've been all my life, and there is a reason to be dangerously optimistic. I personally feel that this entire issue of growth, and Rahul Bhai is going to talk about the way our economy is going to move, and we'll learn from that. To my simple mind, I think it's not just the growth, it is inclusive growth that matters. It is not just the growth, but it's a distributed growth, not taking place in few towns, but tens of thousands of small towns. It is not just the growth, but job-led growth, not jobless growth. And it is not just the growth, but connected growth. And I will explain that to you a little later. How do we achieve all this, I think, is going to be the issue. And therefore, in this, our vision of reinventing India, reimagining India, rediscovering India, rethinking India, I believe we require a completely different strategy. Time is the essence. And I think if we base our future on some simple principles, which are war on West, and I was telling Rahul Bhai how India is number one in West, whether it is our time, whether it is our talent, whether it is our energy, whether it is water, and so on and so forth. Extreme efficiency, value maximization in everything that we do, and finally, innovation, and I will talk about that for a substantial part of my lecture. Innovation is all about doing things differently to make difference, and not incremental innovation, because we don't have time for that. Disruptive innovation, game-changing innovation, and it is entirely possible if we not only have the right minds, but the right mindsets, and I will illustrate that to you. The challenge, again, with India is going to be the following. You know, we have huge income inequalities, and are they reducing? No, I'm sorry, they are increasing. The distance between the poor and the rich is increasing. I was in China last year. The Gini coefficients there are increasing. The top 10% occupies 34.6% of the economy, and the bottom 10%, just 2.2%. 34 and 2, and that gap is widening. It's exactly the same in India. We are doing slightly better, but still that's the issue. And that is a sure cause for social disharmony. And therefore, when we look at growth, we talk about inclusive growth, we talk about accelerated inclusive growth, and in that, the equation of despite income inequalities, how do you create access equality? Access to education, access to health. They will say, come on, what are you talking about? Despite income inequalities, how can you create access equality? Well, that is possible. We are seeing it every day. I saw it on the other day. I had finished a board meeting in Bombay, and I was coming to Pune, and on the road, my car stopped at a traffic signal. And there were 2 people wanting to cross the street, waiting for the red light to turn green. One of them was a super rich lady. Goggle, lipstick, purse, hairdo, dress, perfect. And next to her was a 6 or 7-year-old girl from the slum. Income inequalities, huge. Maybe 1:1,000, 1:10,000. But still access equality. Both of them were on their mobiles. How did that happen? Innovation. First, public policy innovation. What is it that we do? We said, yeah, landlines are fine, but we did not plan on putting up thousands of kilometers of copper wire. We jumped to the next stage, voice on mobile, voice on internet, and see what difference it made. But even if we had said that, those handsets should have been cheaper, otherwise that girl would not have had it. Yes, of course, that happened, $250 to $25. And maybe her father could afford it because it was so cheap. Who did it? Not India. It was Nokia, it was Ericsson, and so on. But supposing that handset was $25, but still the phone calls were something like 8 to 10 cents per minute as they are in US, would they have afforded it? Of course not. Because her father would have had $2 per day as an income. $2 is 200 cents. And with 10 cents per minute, it's a 20-minute call and day's earnings are gone. How could she have had it? And then there was an innovation, which was a business model innovation. And who did it? I'm proud to say India did it. Indian enterprises did it. Fraction of a cent per minute, all right? And it's the combination of a policy innovation, a technological innovation, and a business model innovation that worked. In fact, if we can do that, in the example that I have cited, that despite income inequality, you create access equality through these innovations, we have to seriously think together as to why it cannot be done in the area of education, in health, in financial services, and everything else, okay? And for that, again, I think we require game-changing, disruptive thinking. It's very, very important. In fact, we covered this in a paper by C.K. Prahlad and myself. That was his last paper, unfortunately, Harvard Business Review. It is called Innovation's Holy Grail. It appeared in July-August 2010 Harvard Business Review. In fact, that has become now among the top 10 must-read paper, by the way. And in July, in the opinion survey, it was ranked as #1. And I will tell you why. It is because in that paper, we demonstrate as to how a combination of scarcity on one hand and aspiration on the other hand led Indian companies to innovate. And we have called it more from less for more. More from less for more people, not just for more profit. MLM, as it has become now famous. Amazing, on the same topic, and all by you will remember my Gandhian engineering talk that I gave in Wardha. I gave one in TED. And as we were sitting here, by the way, I'm sorry, while you were speaking, I just had put my BlackBerry on at 9:40 a.m. And the number of views it has received is a record number. And at 9:40 today, it was 5,02,026, 500,000. Why has there been a sudden interest in this subject? Because suddenly what is happening is that there is a new paradigm that we are talking about. And that paradigm is affordable excellence. Now you will say, come on, today you are putting together words that are quite contradictory, like despite income inequality, access equality, affordable and excellence together. Oh, how can that be? Because the moment we say something is affordable, it can't be excellent. That's what we think. The moment we say something is excellent, you say it cannot be affordable, isn't it? We are all used to jugaad. I hate the word jugaad, by the way. I must be very honest with you. Because jugaad is getting it done at low cost somehow, without any consideration to safety, sustainability, environment, and the rest of it. I don't want my India to be recognized as a jugaad nation. I'm sorry. I want my nation to be recognized as a nation which creates affordable excellence. You might say, can you give us an example to illustrate the point? I'll illustrate the point. In my mother's name, Anjani Mashelkar, I have created what is called the Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award. It's a small award, just 1 lakh. This is the 4th year of the award. What do we do there? I'm not a great believer, by the way, in best practice. I'm a believer in next practice. So this award is for the next practice in inclusive innovation. Rahul, it's very interesting. It went to a 28-year young man, Mishkin Ingawale. What did he do? He asked a question. I understand why people die of cancer. Why should they die of anemia? And I'm very happy, Deepak, that in the book, Marathi book that you have talked about anemia for rural women in particular because they suffer the most. And then what happens? They die because the hemoglobin levels go so low, subcritical. And there is no way to know that they are subcritical. So this young boy had gone to the villages, and what did he find? He found that they were reluctant to give a blood sample. They don't like needles, pricks. And when blood is given, they think something is given away. Supposing you persuade them to give a blood sample, it goes to a city and comes back after 2-3 days, by which it is too late. Young Mishkin said, no, this is not on. Why do I have to prick and take a blood sample? So he said, I will create something which is non-invasive. That means I just put something around the finger and I know what is the hemoglobin. And then he Googled and found out that nobody else in the world has done it. He said, great, I will do it. You know why? Because he's an innovator. They say innovator is one who does not know it cannot be done. All right? That is the attitude we need to have. And then he said, why should it take 200 rupees for an analysis? Why not 10 rupees? Bringing in affordability. But now come on, to make it non-invasive, you know what did he have to do? He had to use cutting-edge technologies. Photoplethysmography, photospectrometry, for linking it finally to the hemoglobin concentration, a very sophisticated software measuring photon scattering, and so on. And it is this combination of technology with which he is able to create what is called as a touch HB now, where he can put it around your finger and tell you what your hemoglobin content is. It's amazing. Rahul bhai, this award was given away by Anuaga, you know. And when he came on the stage, very dramatically, he put it around her finger, said 12.7, take care. Now you can see this is a game changer. Because it is not the best practice, it is the next practice. And it is not just applicable for rural women in India, all around the world. It is not something which is first to India. You know, we take pride in saying that I'm the first in Shukravarpet, I'm first in Pune, first in Maharashtra. I'm tired of hearing that. It has to be the first to the world. And this is first to the world. But this represents affordable excellence. Affordable because it is 10 rupees, and excellence because it uses cutting-edge technology. Come on. If that young Mishkin on his own gets it done by just having that feeling that I can understand why people are dying of cancer, I can understand that, but why should they die of anemia? And this drives him to do that. How can we create, and how can Rotary help in creating tens of thousands of such Mishkins who will create such challenges? I'm going to come at the end with a little bit of an agenda for you, by the way, but I'm just illustrating the point. There is one further point I want to make. For India to move forward, there are 3 words that are critical: talent, technology, and trust. Talent, I already described to you what it is, and how it has to be used for inclusive growth of India. That's clear. But technology is going to be the crux. The way technology is galloping, you know, it is incredible. Just now, the McKinsey report has come with regard to 12 disruptive technologies which are going to change the world. And by 2020, we'll have impact on a $25 trillion industry. They include mobile internet, Internet of Things like sensors, actuators, autonomous knowledge networks. You have cloud computing, next-gen genomics, 3D printing, and so on and so forth. Now, when you look at that list, you say, oh my God, they will come to us, and then we'll start using them, and as usual, there will be a gap of 10, 20 years, etc. Nonsense. I think rather than getting submerged on the waves of these new disruptive technologies, we must ride that wave, okay? You look at 3D printing, what is called as the additive manufacturing, we think, oh my God, after 10, 20 years, it will be, I'm sorry. Can you imagine Pune is taking a lead in this? In a very interesting way. As soon as you say 3D printing, you say, you know, the bionic ear, a sophisticated biomedical device. You look at NASA, you say, oh my God, they had this 1500 degrees centigrade a component which will withstand 1500 degrees centigrade component for the engine, rocket engine, and so on. No, sorry. In Pune, we are connecting the possibly unconnected. Today is my morning on connecting the unconnected. Garbage and 3D printing. What are we doing? Well, there is an NGO called Swachh. He has some 1,000 garbage pickers. What they do? They segregate high-density polyethylene, make granules out of it, indigenously build 3D printing machine by Mr. Wagh or his son, and creating very sophisticated parts out of 3D printing. So that garbage picker, who would normally get 10 rupees per kilogram for the garbage, would get 30, 40 rupees for the granules. He starts getting 200 rupees plus. Can you see that? And it is happening right here. And I think this is what we need to look at, how technology will change. Don't forget that when the British came, they connected India through Indian railways. That was technology. All right? Now that journey has been done long time ago. How can we move forward and connect India? And therefore, all these breakthroughs like Aadhaar and others, are extraordinarily important because they are going to be major game changing. So I talked about talent, technology, and trust. I think one of the major things that we are suffering from today is not budget deficit, it is trust deficit. It is the trust between the government and the industry. It is lack of trust between the industry and the society and the government, and so on and so forth. I think we'll have to bring that back. I think we have huge strengths. We are a uniquely open source republic with long history of multiplicity and tolerance. We have the essentials of growth of an emerging market with free-willing democracy, something that China misses. They are the first but not the second. And we have an aspiring young generation. Half of India is less than 25. And as I said, the definition of an innovator is one who does not know it cannot be done. All right? And these young people are innovators. They don't know. And if there is half of India which does not know that it cannot be done, what a difference it can make if they have the right aspirations. There is something about claps and smile. They're absolutely free. So when you feel like clapping, give them in abundance. You'll feel happy. Good. That's very good. You will feel also happy. I think the issue is that the rest of the world is learning from us now. I was reading Nitin Noria's article on the other day. He said, Rahul Bhai, that when he went in 1988 to Harvard Business School, 9 out of 10 case studies were from the US. Today, 5 out of 10 are from the US, the rest of them are from outside. And majority of them are from India, by the way. It's incredible. And they range right from Dabbawalas to Narayan Rudalaya to Arvind Eye Care and whole range of things. So the rest of the world is learning from us on how we achieve affordable excellence. Because when Arvind Eye Care does these cataract surgeries, I just now got my cataract surgery done here, paid 50,000 rupees. Poor people cannot afford that, right? They do it for nothing, just $30. Basically, 40% of them free. And you would say, oh my God, so cheap. So the quality must be awful. I'm sorry, I have one table which actually shows on the right-hand side data from the ophthalmologists from UK, Royal College of Ophthalmic Surgeons, and on the left-hand side, that from Arvind Eye Care. And in 9 out of 9 parameters, they beat them. It is not less from less, it is more from less. All right? And India has specialized this. It is not just technological innovation, it is business model innovation, business process innovation, it is workflow innovation, it is system delivery innovation, it is organizational innovation, and combination of that. I think even India is, and that is why you will find that the dictionary is changing now. The innovation dictionary is changing, and particularly during the last 5 years, you will find new words like inclusive innovation, more from less for more, Gandhian innovation, frugal innovation that are coming up. But amongst all this, I think what is most important is the message on affordable excellence, because it can make the whole difference. Affordability bringing in equity on one hand, and excellence bringing competitiveness and global competitiveness. That is what we need to aim for. Finally, while I'm ending, as I had promised you, a little bit of a agenda setting for all of us. Just, I'll take 5 minutes to do that. I think, let me explain what I'm going to say by giving you a small example of what happened just a year ago. 1st January last year, I entered the 70th year of my life. And always I thought that innovation should not be just in industry or there, etc. In our personal life, there has to be innovation. So you know what I did? I got 70 children from slums and very poor families. And they were all going to municipal schools, by the way. They were not convent students. And I spent around 3 hours with them in the morning. That is how I began my day. And can you believe it? At the end, I got up, folded my hands, and said, today I have got 70 gurus. It is incredible. One of the girls who was probably in 5th or 6th standard in the municipal school, and this is all in Marathi, but I'm explaining in English. She said, sir, we talk about corruption. And we think everybody says government should do something about it. But isn't corruption something simple? Somebody gives money and somebody takes money. Supposing each one of us says we will not give money, wouldn't corruption be eliminated? Why should the government be there? Another girl got up, and girls only got up. This is something very refreshing. I love that, by the way. The boys did not. I had to coax finally the boys, Another girl got up and said, we talk about environment, Paryavaran. But she said, sir, I have read somewhere that if in London somebody is walking his dog and that dog spoils, then that person is supposed to be cleaning. And so like that, if each one of us takes a responsibility, wouldn't all this problem of environment be gone? I think both these girls were giving us a very profound message. We have got so spoiled that even if the water tap in our home is not working, we say, what is the government doing about it? Sorry, I think it's an individual responsibility. So I think each of us, each of the Rotarians take this responsibility, there will be a huge change. Now you can't do everything, but let us look at something simple like education. On the other day, there was a little bit of a dialogue among scientists. We were talking about what is the most powerful equation that has ever emerged in science. And amazingly, the most powerful equations are the simplest, by the way, 2 or 3 terms. So one scientist got up and said it is F equal to ma, force equal to mass into acceleration. You'll remember it from your school days, Newton's law. The second fellow said, no, it is Einstein's equation. E equal to mc square, right? E is energy, m is mass, and c is velocity of light. Finally, they came to me. I said, none of them. They said, you mean to say not Newton, not Einstein? I said, no. It is E equal to F. They said, what is E, what is F? I said, E is education and F is future. Education is future. The reason I'm standing here before you is because I got that education. Can each one of you contribute to that? You can. Let me tell you, I was born in a very poor family. My father died when I was 6. My mother was illiterate, and she came to Bombay in search of a job. 2 meals a day was a hard challenge for us. In fact, she was an expert food technologist. She used to prepare 1 meal by which I will not feel hungry at night. It was incredible. And I walked barefoot until I was 12, studied under street lights. It was a tremendous struggle. Fortunately, I used to stand first in my school, and therefore I used to get small scholarship, and that was very helpful. But when I passed my 7th standard, by the way, by the way, I have studied in municipal school, all in Marathi. Huh? It did not make a difference. Want to tell you. So when I finished my 7th standard, I had to go to the 8th standard, a secondary school. We required 21 rupees. It took my mother 3 weeks to get it. And finally, there was a housemaid at Chowpatty whose saving it was that she sort of gave to us. That individual help mattered to me. Those 21 rupees are more precious to me than 21 crores, by the way, because then I could go to school. When I finished my SSC, by the way, no guides, no tutorials, nothing. I stood 11th among 135,000 students in the states, Maharashtra state. And still I was going to leave education. And so, because I couldn't see, because I and my mother were the only two people, and the big struggle, so I said, nothing doing, I'm going to. And then people from nowhere came, my friends, collected 200 rupees. I think 3 of them I still remember. And that is how I got admission in Jain College. And then how do you continue study? You can get entrance. And then Tata's gave me, Sir Durab Tata scholarship, 60 rupees per month for 6 years. That's how I could study. Tata's probably didn't even realize that they had lost 60 rupees. But that 60 rupees made such a difference to my life. I therefore appeal to you that you have the potential to create Machelkars. And it is not just doling out money, by the way. Going forward and taking an extra step, mentoring them. I just didn't get 60 rupees, by the way. I remember I was very poor in English because I had studied in Marathi. And I remember Malegaon-wala, a good old Parsi gentleman, taking money from his own pocket and having a Parsi lady teach me English. You know, the manners of behaving on a table. I did not know how to make a tea, by the way, if the tray was brought, how to debate. They took us to museums and so on and so forth. So it's not just connecting and throwing money across the table and feeling well at night. I've done something. Sorry, no. Get engaged, get involved. You might say, can I do something which is transformational? Because it's a big country, you're talking about millions of people. You can. Because there are transformative technologies that have come up, which, for want of will, have not taken off and transformed India. I'll give you just one example. Computer-based functional literacy. You talked about the role of technology in transformation. Here is a brilliant example. Normally, if you want to make an illiterate literate, it takes so long. And at the current rate, we cannot certainly be a developed nation by 2020 with 200 million plus illiterates. And the correct figures are still not known, by the way. And when illiterate becomes literate, it is the ability to sign no. Sorry. So you have this great breakthrough from F.C. Kohli on what he calls as a functional literacy. What is it? Supposing you take the word mother. How do you recognize that word? You will all learn alphabets, A, B, C, D, etc. And then you'll pick up M, then O, then T, H, E, R, and then you are taught how to construct that. That takes a long time. What he did was that if you recognize 590 words, you can read a newspaper. It's incredible. How much time does it take? 6 to 8 weeks. How much money does it take? 100 rupees. Because you use a knockdown PC 386 or 486 or whatever, etc. It has the power to transform entire India. All right? In fact, I remember the Prime Minister of India, in his first term, by the way, had invited me to become member Science Planning Commission. I did not want, but I had gone to see him. And I still remember he's asking me, if there is one thing we should be doing, what is it? And I mentioned, sir, you can make the entire country literate by launching a national mission by taking this thing just in 5 years' time. That is the power. And he was very keen, by the way. He did not move forward later for a variety of reasons. I will not discuss them, but that is transformative. Rotarians, I was just checking, 1.2 million members, you said. If each one of you put just 10,000 rupees, 5,000 for doing this and 5,000 for the additional expenses that may be incurred, the entire country can be made literate in just 5 years, if you just take it upon yourself. And you can see what a literate country will mean in terms of an enlightened democracy, rather than the one that we sort of have today. You know, at the end of it, I'll tell you, there are two things that are most critical: education and health. Education makes you creative through thinking, creating new things, and health makes you productive, okay? And affordable health, affordable education, access to health are two fundamentals, I believe, on which you can innovate and create. And I can see, Deepak, I must congratulate you for the examples that you showed just now in terms of what you are trying to basically do. I also feel, finally, at the end, that we need to create new leadership, a new sense of nationhood. I don't find that there is a lack of ideas, there is a lack of action. I think that is very important. Great ideas like interlinking of rivers has been around, just like Aadhaar was a great idea, interlinking of rivers is a great idea. But I think what is most important is interlinking of minds, Indian minds. The challenge is, again, the Indian mind versus Indian mindset. Indian mind actually taking us into the 21st century, Indian mindset dropping us back. On one hand, we said, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is one family. Okay, but on the other hand, somebody was joking on the other day. He asked me, he said, tell me what is one Japanese plus one Japanese? I said, 2. He said, no, wrong, 11. And then he said, what is one Indian plus one Indian? I said, 2. He said, again wrong, 0, because they both neutralize each other. And I think what is important is this, leadership. And that is something we look forward to Rotary to sort of provide. My dream is really that of Team India, One India, and My India. In this very city, we had the Science Congress lecture. Let me just tell you this story and end. It was in year 2000, 3rd January 2000. And I gave this new Panchasheel for the new millennium: child-centered education, woman-centered family, human-centered development, knowledge-centered society, and innovation-centered India. These were the 5 principles. And within that, while I was finishing, I wrote that in Goa, by the way, the last 3-4 lines while I was writing, handwritten, and then I used to pass it on because, as usual, because of pressure of time, I did it at the last minute. So in the last 3 lines, My India was mentioned 4 times. You can see that speech. And I did it inadvertently. It came from somewhere. And I remember it was widely telecast, and some girl phoned me up from Assam, as a matter of fact, and she said, sir, do you realize that you said My India 4 times in your last 1 minute? And I said, yeah, that gives me a great idea. If we, each one of us, 1.2 billion Indians, get up in the morning and say My India, at least 5 times. And also before going to bed, say My India 5 times, and then ask, however, I did this for myself, what did I do for my India? You know, the world will change. Somebody asked me, what is your greatest dream? I had given that dream when Janagadamana, the penning of that, completed 100 years. I had said, on that day, on a particular time, say 10 in the morning, if 1.2 billion Indians got up, wherever they were, and sang Janagadamana, can you imagine 1.2 billion Indians singing at the same time Janagadamana all over? I think that's the India of our dreams that we have to build. We have to reinvent India. We have to reimagine that India. Thank you very much.